The cabin shimmered with soft lighting and whispered wealth brushed brass fixtures, leather seats wide enough to sprawl, and the faint aroma of champagne weaving through the air like a hush of privilege. First class on Flight 481 out of JFK was its own little kingdom in the sky, a place where expectations reigned and appearances dictated everything. And on that particular Friday evening, those expectations were about to be shattered. A woman stepped into that kingdom quietly. She wore a worn slate hoodie, jeans softened by 100 washes, and sneakers that had seen more sidewalks than red carpets. Her hair, a tangle of honey-brown waves, was knotted into a bun that had given up on neatness hours ago. Her name was Elena Mercer. Her face was beautiful in that effortless way that didn't try to be. But none of that mattered to the people watching her now, because all they saw was someone who didn't belong. Elena didn't care about looks. She never had. She'd grown up in Connecticut, daughter to one of the oldest land-owning families in New England, the kind whose fortune was buried in deeds and trusts, not flaunted with Bentleys and designer heels. Her husband, Callum Mercer, was another story, a self-made billionaire who'd built Skyward International from a hangar and a single-engine prop. But tonight, Elena wasn't flying private. She'd chosen this flight to Los Angeles to surprise her younger sister, Mia, on her birthday. A quick commercial hop. No fuss. No entourage. Just her in a gift bag tucked inside her carry-on. When she approached seat 3A, the murmur started. "Excuse me, ma'am." A woman's voice sliced through the air like a cold draft. Elena looked up to see a flight attendant, tall and thin, with a posture sharpened by years of serving champagne with gritted teeth. Her name tag read Vanessa. "Boarding pass, please." Elena smiled politely and handed it over. Vanessa's eyes flicked from the pass to Elena's hoodie, then back. "This says first class." Elena nodded. "Yes, that's correct." Vanessa paused just a second too long, lips twitching at the corners. "Are you sure you're in the right section?" The insult hung there, subtle as a slap. Elena's smile didn't falter. "I am." But the cabin was already shifting. Heads turned. A man 2 rows over snorted into his whiskey. Someone muttered something about upgrades and dress codes. Elena stayed still, her hands still outstretched with the pass. Vanessa gave a tight-lipped nod and returned it, but her eyes didn't soften. "I'll be verifying this with the manifest," she said coolly. "Please remain seated." She didn't move far before whispering to another flight attendant, a man named Dean, stocky, with a crew cut and the casual arrogance of someone who mistook authority for purpose. Dean looked over, glanced Elena up and down like she was a misplaced duffel, and frowned. "That her?" he asked. Vanessa nodded. "Claims she's 3A. Dean walked over, arms folded, confidence wrapped in condescension. "Mind showing me that pass again, ma'am?" Elena handed it over again, wordless now. She could feel it beginning the slow, rising tide of being judged, of being diminished, of being accused without cause. Dean barely looked at the pass before chuckling. "Right. You're Elena Mercer, huh?" She raised her chin. "Yes." He handed it back with a shrug. "Let's not cause a scene. I think you meant to board an economy. Full flight tonight. You're in someone else's seat." "I'm not," she said, still calm. "That's my seat." "Not anymore," Vanessa chimed in, her voice turning ice. "We'll help you find your proper section." Across the aisle, a man in a navy suit leaned forward. His name was Brandon, and the Rolex peeking out of his cuff was only outshined by his smug grin. "Don't worry," he called. "We all make mistakes. First time flying." The laugh that followed rippled through the cabin. Elena sat perfectly still. Vanessa sighed, stepping closer. "Ma'am, we'll ask you one last time. Please cooperate, or we'll have to escalate this." Elena stood, not because she agreed, not because she feared them, but because she hated becoming a spectacle. She lifted her carry-on with steady hands and walked down the aisle, escorted by Dean like a trespasser escorted off holy ground. Row 27 was a different world, tight, loud, dim. They stuffed her between a man asleep against the window and a teenage girl blasting music through oversized headphones. "This is your real seat," Dean said, tossing her bag onto the floor. "Next time, don't try to fake it." We're trained to spot scammers. And just like that, Elena Mercer, philanthropist, Yale alum, wife of the man who owned the very airline she was flying on, was reduced to a cautionary tale. She texted Callum, "Rough flight. Kicked out of first class. Don't worry." The response came fast. "Excuse me? Which flight? Who touched you?" She hesitated, then typed, "Flight 481, JFK to LAX. It's fine. Really." He didn't respond immediately. But when he did, the message was short. "I'm handling it." Back in first class, Vanessa poured wine and laughed with Brandon over something about social media influencers and wannabe rich girls. The incident with Elena was already fading into background noise. Then the cabin lights flickered once. The intercom crackled. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain. We've received a priority communication from Skyward HQ. Please remain seated as we address it." The passengers stiffened. Vanessa's brow furrowed. Then the curtain parted, and Callum Mercer stepped through. He wasn't supposed to be there. No one had seen him board. But there he was, 6 feet 4 inches, storm gray suit, presence like a thunderclap. His eyes swept the cabin until they landed on Vanessa. "Where's my wife?" he said, low and steady. Vanessa blinked. "I'm sorry." Callum's tone didn't rise, but the weight of it filled the space. "Elena Mercer. You removed her from this cabin." Dean stood from his jump seat, confused. "Sir, we had a—" Callum turned on him. "You had nothing. You had a passenger with a valid boarding pass, and you dragged her through the plane like a criminal." Dean opened his mouth. "Closed it. We didn't recognize." "Because she wasn't dressed to your liking?" Callum's eyes narrowed. "Or because she didn't beg you for acceptance?" The cabin was silent now. "She wanted to fly in peace," Callum continued, stepping forward. "You humiliated her. For sport. For your amusement." Brandon, ever the peacock, tried to interject. "Hey man, it wasn't that serious." Callum's head snapped toward him. "You laughed. You ridiculed my wife. You recorded her. You're banned. Permanently." Vanessa flinched. "You can't just—" Callum pulled out his phone. "I can. And I will." He dialed. "Madeline. Flight 481. Remove Vanessa Lynn and Dean Harrow from payroll. Terminate effective immediately. Add Brandon Kell to the do not board list. Lifetime ban. Yes, no exceptions." Vanessa gasped. Dean stepped back, pale. Elena was already making her way down the aisle, calm as ever. Callum met her halfway. "You're coming back where you belong. No more drama, please," she whispered. "It's not drama. It's accountability." When they returned to seat 3A, Callum guided her into the chair with reverence. The others watched like ghosts. Then he turned again. "To every passenger who laughed, your names are logged. Your frequent flyer privileges revoked. Any crew member who assisted this, audited. If you acted out of bias, you're next." Someone tried to clap. He raised a hand. "Don't." By the time the flight landed in Los Angeles, Vanessa and Dean were escorted off by 2 Skyward security officers. Brandon was removed next, sputtering about lawyers and status. Callum never blinked. The press picked it up within hours. Billionaire defends wife on flight. Airline CEO fires crew midair. But Elena? She didn't say a word. She walked through LAX in the same hoodie, Callum's hand in hers. They didn't speak of it again, but the airline industry did. And somewhere in row 27, a teenage girl who saw it all turned off her music and whispered, "That's how you protect someone you love." Would you like me to provide a visual prompt for the scene where Callum appears in first class?